Hey YouTube, Set Guy here. Today I want to talk to you about something that's kind of a rarity with Swiss Army knives. The three knives you see here, all of them are a single blade knife. One of the main reasons that Victorinox came out with these is that some people like to carry a smaller knife, but at times they needed a larger blade. So they created these three knives. The first one was the Solo, the 93mm Alox model. The second one is the 108mm Solo, and then the Sentinel. Now, let's start with the smallest and work to the largest. Now, this is the original Solo. It was originally a red Alox with the Swiss cross on it. Models that you find now, as this is still being made, color the rainbow, and they have the shield on them. Now, as I said, the original came out, it was a red Alox. I bought this in the late 70s, 78 to 1980 time frame. Again, I got it because I did like carrying, or sometimes I needed to carry a smaller knife, but I prefer to have a larger knife with me. Now, to go over the specs on this, as I said, it's a 93mm Alox, which is 3 5/8 inches closed. Opened, it is 160mm open. Comes out to 6 3/8 inches. The blade is 70mm, which comes out to 2.5 inches. As I said, the original has the Swiss cross on it, and as you can see there, it is a Victorinox. And on the back, there's nothing, no printing. It doesn't, as you can see, there are no liners in it. It has a stainless steel back spring, and then the pins on it are nickel silver. And I have had, like I said, have had this for a while. They've become a little tarnished. I did carry this blade on a few occasions, not many. As you can see, it's not very worn, but is a very handy pocket knife. Now, the second Solo is the 108mm Solo. Now, I'm not sure why they've named these two with the same name, but basically because it's a single blade. Originally, this was named the Adventurer when it was part of the Safari series. And again, it has the Swiss cross on it. I do not believe this is made any longer, but I'm not sure, wouldn't be able to verify that. As I said, it's 108mm. The scales are nylon. And as you can see, there are no extra little implements. I have a little lanyard here so I can hang it up on my board. And this was one of the big things about this particular, not this particular knife, but the Safari series, was that it had a hole in it that you could put a lanyard through it. And this is, again, non-locking. And as you can see here, hopefully, Victorinox, and no markings on the back. Now, the specs on this knife, as I said, it's 108mm, which comes out to 4.5 inches. The width on the knife is 11.8 millimeters, which is right at a 1/2 inch. The blade is 83 millimeters and is 3¼ inches. Opened, it's 191 millimeters. Comes out to 7½ inches. Now this particular knife I did use quite a bit when I was in Germany in the Air Force. I carried this knife in my boot. It just in between the leg and the top of my boot, it fit right there snug. I carried this as a backup, and again, it was a handy knife to have around. Now the third knife, the Sentinel, is a little bit different. It's a 111 millimeter knife. The scales on it are black, scratch resistant nylon scales, and as you can see, this one has a pocket clip on it, and it's a one-handed opening knife. And it's a liner lock. The liners on it are aluminum, and as you can see here, hopefully camera will focus, you can see the Victorinox logo there. And then on the pocket clip, see if we can get the reflection here, you can see again the Victorinox logo. Now this knife has more functions on it than the other two, even though it's a single blade. It has the key ring, then your tweezers and toothpick, and also the pocket clip. Now I've been carrying this knife off and on for about the last 6 months. When this knife originally came out in 2008, it did not have a pocket clip. It was a single hand, one-handed opening knife without a pocket clip. Now a lot of people at the time, especially in America, kept asking for a pocket clip. A year later, Victorinox came out with the pocket clip for this knife. Now the original models, I saw some articles where people had used these, and they were complaining that after a few months, or a month or two, this pocket clip would become loose. My model has not done that. As you can see, it's very sturdy, good spring, clips to the pocket, stays in there. Closed, it's 111 millimeters, which is 4 5/16 inches. The width is 12.25 millimeters, which is just a hair over a 1/2 inch. It weighs in at 77.5 grams, which comes out to 2.75 ounces. The blade is 87 millimeters, which comes out to 3 3/8 inch. This is a handy knife to have when you just need to, you got one hand busy, the other one you can open your knife, cut something, and then close the knife again one-handed. The one drawback I find on this particular knife is the blade profile. And as you can see on the 108 millimeter, it comes to a nice point. On the 111, it's got kind of a blunt point. Now that's just a personal preference of mine. I prefer a little bit more point on my blades, but I found carrying this that it really doesn't hinder it if you're poking it into a bag or something like that, trying to open up a, whether it's a bag of grain or potting soil or whatever, that it'll poke through. But again, I just prefer a bit of a point, partly because if you're out bebopping in the woods, get a splinter in your hand, it's a lot easier to have a point on your blade to get that splinter out and then use the tweezers to pull it out. And that is about it. I hope you've enjoyed this review of single blade Swiss Army knives. Like I said, that's a rarity with the Swiss Army knives. Single blade, they normally have multiple blades on them. See you next time. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And remember, always be prepared.